Hey, it's Emily from the Rural Explorer. Today we're in the picturesque and bustling market town of Helmsley, which is located just on the outside of the North Yorkshire moors. Today, Helmsley is full of cafes and pubs and independent shops, but archaeological finds show Helmsley was first settled in 3000 BC, which is crazy. There's evidence of Neolithic settlers, Bronze and Iron Age settlers, as well as Roman settlers. There's even evidence that the Vikings lived here by some of the street names which have gate at the end of them. After the Norman conquest, Helmsley estate was gifted to the Count of Mortain, who was William the Conqueror's half-brother. Let's go and have a look around. Behind me are the ruins of medieval Helmsley Castle. It was originally built in 1120. Now, it was built as a residence and a place of safety as opposed to a fortress designed for battle and war. However, it did see some action. Have you ever heard of the Cavaliers and Roundheads? Well, the Cavaliers and Roundheads were two opposing factions during the English Civil War. The Cavaliers were the Royalists, who were supporters of King Charles I. The Roundheads, the supporters of the Parliament of England. In 1664, Helmsley Castle was being used as a garrison by some of the Royalist soldiers. The castle, however, was besieged. An army of 1,000 men and horses, led by Sir Thomas Fairfax of the Parliamentary Army, stormed the castle. Sir Jordan Crossland and his garrison of only 200 men managed to hold the castle for 3 whole months before they eventually had to surrender to starvation, which was Fairfax's plan, rather than using artillery. Crossland and his men, when they exited the castle, were met with mercy. However, the castle was not. The east side was practically destroyed, and the east tower still lies in a ditch today. As with all castles, they have a grisly history, and Helmsley Castle is no different. It's got tales peppered of betrayal, conflict and suffering. So we shouldn't be surprised to hear that this place is haunted, and there's more than a few resident ghosts. The most well-known ghostly sighting here is that of a shadowy figure of a man. Numerous reports from both visitors and staff say they've seen the figure of a shadowy man dressed in armour, medieval armour, so perhaps he is the spirit of one of the fallen soldiers from the 1644 siege, still guarding this castle, even in death. I'd love to see him. I've never had a paranormal experience. There are numerous reports of a green lady said to haunt these grounds, her long green dress floating eerily behind her, whilst other reports talk of disembodied voices and strange noises, men's voices and the clashing of swords, but nobody around. Another ghostly tale associated with the castle is that of the woman in white. Now, she is meant to haunt what were the ruins of where the Great Hall once stood. With her, you're meant to have this overwhelming feeling of sadness and a sudden temperature drop. I didn't experience it. However, behind me, you may see the steeple of the church. There is a pub called the Black Swan Hotel, and that's also meant to have the presence of a white lady. It could be the same one. Behind me is part of the Black Swan Hotel. It's a really, really interesting building. It's made up of 3 different types of architecture. Tudor, which is the obvious black and white you can see beside me. And then round the corner you can see Georgian architecture in the middle and Elizabethan architecture on the far side. Now, due to its wide and lengthy history, it's no surprise that both visitors and staff say that there's numerous resident ghosts in there. Nobody knows much about who the resident ghosts of the Black Swan are, but there's been reports of a dapper-looking gentleman and a young blonde woman wandering the corridors, as well as a woman in white. The woman in white is said to be heard weeping, which makes me wonder, is it the same woman in white that we talked about who haunts the castle? Also, staff have reported the sounds of disembodied voices and whispering and footsteps when nobody else is present on the building. All this paranormal experience has earned this pub the title of being one of the most haunted hotels and pubs in North Yorkshire, which is pretty cool. Thank you for spending some time in beautiful Helmsley with us. I hope you learnt something new and enjoyed hearing about all the spooky and paranormal aspects. It's definitely worth a visit if you're in the North Yorkshire region or further afield. It's got so many independent shops and places to eat to choose from. Hope you liked the video. Please hit the like button if you did, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.